very hard hitting. What is your go-to karaoke song?
All right. I Can Be a Hero, Enrique Iglesias.
There you go. There
Didn't we
it
have
is.
somebody else with that
I
answer?
think so, yeah. I think we've had one other person say that before.
Yeah. I think it was Jeff Charles.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's so funny.
You can tell that about people's songs and music. So
Hello and welcome to Talking Too Loud with Chris Savage. I am your host, Chris Savage, and I'm joined by Sylvie Lubau. Sylvie, you're our producer.
Hello,
You're my
hello.
co-host. You're such a nice person. Here you are again.
I'm such a nice person.
Look at you.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Friendly, kind, constantly telling jokes when we're not recording, constantly trying to get you to tell more jokes on air.
Oh, man.
Well, we have a great guest today. Kobi Gamliel, who is the head of agency growth at Wix Studio, is here. So we're going to be hearing a little bit about how Wix has grown dramatically. He's been there for almost 10 years. How do you build new products? How do you test things out? We got heady per usual. You know, I like to get heady. Verhuge. We talked about parenting. We talked about how you learn and navigate your way through the work world, through life. I mean, we covered a lot of bases.
It was
in this
soulful.
one.
It was soulful.
Very soulful. You were entranced, I would say. Is that
I was like,
accurate?
Yes. I was like tongue tied in a nice way, not
That's
in like
nice.
an anxious way. In like a, I'm turning that over in my head.
You did look like you were processing. A lot of processing happening. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
processing.
You're like a machine.
I was gonna say, my CPU was overloaded. Little joke for you.
Oh, you got it going. The CPU jokes always get me.
What's got you talking too loud, Savage?
Well, you know, what I'm excited about right now is that we have been working on a brand refresh here at Wistia. New word mark. That's right. You heard it here first, except it's out by the time this episode's out, so go check it out. But totally new website, and we've changed a lot of stuff. I'm super proud. It looks so great. And I think it just does a better job explaining all the new things we've been doing. Like, obviously, the last few years, we've been building so many new things in the product, really expanding the product and what it can do dramatically, you know, our editing, recording, all that stuff. We've made huge changes to the core, and it's all showing up on this pretty little site that looks like it's been that way forever. And that's not the case. It's taken a lot of hard work to get there. But if you were to, for the first time, show up at Wistia today, you would say, oh, look at this. So I'm super excited for that. And I just love seeing the process. You know, it's like I jump in and then I go back out and I come back in a month later and it's like evolved a lot. I go back out and it's like, oh, this crazy video exists and all this. It's just it's been really fun to watch.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I'm excited to see it unveiled.
Yes, and lots of house cleaning. That's the other thing. Like the website has,
God bless.
you know, it just
Clean
feels
that
good
house. Yeah,
when you
you're
just
like,
clean that house.
Get
You
it
clean
out
up.
of here. Get
Get all
out
the
of
junk
here.
out of here. Get all this weird. I got sent something today that was like, look at this. 18 people a month are seeing this page. And it's like a getting started with Wistia page that was created in 2011. And it's a PDF. And it's so,
Oh no.
it's the style in it is just this quirky humor. It's honestly endearing, but it's completely useless.
Right.
It's completely confusing. No one should see this.
Yep.
And 18 people a month are seeing this thing, probably very confused.
Got it.
So it's nice to clean house little. You know, it feels good.
It's amazing.
What's got you talking too loud?
Mine's pretty basic, I guess, but Super Bowl.
Oh.
Talking too loud about the Super Bowl. Not a huge football fan, but like definitely enjoy a Super Bowl watch. I hosted a party.
Where's my invite?
So sorry it got lost in the mail. It was very small. It was really just my parents, my sister, and Greg. And
Oh, that's great.
One of my sister's besties. But
Okay.
made chicken wings, buffalo wings for the first time.
You made them.
Made them. Not too
Impressive.
shabby. I was
Okay.
I'd make them again.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And of course, I'm like, okay, I don't want to talk about Travis and Taylor because we should be talking about Mahomes. He crushed.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I'm talking about Travis and Taylor, and I'm like annoyed that I'm talking about Travis and Taylor.
And what are you talking about? You believe
I'm like,
the
is it a stunt? Is it real? I don't know.
Is it a deep state conspiracy?
I really don't know. Do you have a thought? Do you have an opinion?
About if it's a deep state conspiracy?
Yeah.
It's not a deep state conspiracy.
Not a deep state conspiracy. But is it authentic? Is it genuine?
Their relationship?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's genuine.
Okay.
I think they're just to me, they look like two people who are at the beginning of a relationship. They're in the honeymoon phase. They happen to be wildly, wildly famous.
Okay.
And they look very happy. And
right.
It reminds me, did you watch the Beckham documentary?
I haven't watched it. But
If you watch that, it's like, it really, reminds me
the beginning of him and Posh.
Like him and Posh. It's like, okay, she's a huge singer. She's so popular. She's traveling the world. And like, he's this incredible athlete and blah, blah, blah. And like, how do they, and it's, everyone was obsessed with them. My favorite meme about the Taylor Kelsey thing is like, if they get married and have babies, it's going to be like a baby boom in the U.S. because like it's so influential, and I just think it's so funny, and it's probably true.
It is probably true.
If Taylor Swift just started having like tons of babies, I think people would be like, you know what? We should do this. Let's go.
Well, whether it's real or not, jury's out. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I think. But
I like that you don't think it's real. That's hilarious.
I know. Is that so cynical? But, great brand growth for the two of them.
Great brand growth. Yeah, fantastic brand. We love to see it. We love to see the spectacle. We love to see, just be able to talk about people, use their first names, their nicknames, feel like we know them. We don't. Yeah. The parasocial relationship. We try to do that in marketing. We try to have a connection to people we don't know. We try to put our personalities out there, be authentic, tell stories.
Create good energy.
Bring good energy. And speaking of good energy and bringing good stories and marketing and standing out and learning, I think it's time to get into this interview with Kobi when we talk about all of that. Kobi, welcome to the show. So great to meet you.
So great to be here, guys. Thanks a lot.
Very excited to be talking loud with you. I can tell we're going to get excited. There's already a little vibe going, which is why I've got to get
good energy.
Record.
Indeed, good energy.
You can't miss anything. You don't want to miss the gold. So obviously the show's called Talking Too Loud because when I get excited, I cannot control the volume of my voice. This is something that's been true since I was a kid. Happens to me all the time. Literally yesterday, I was sitting next to a friend and his wife, and she just got up and walked away. And he's like, what was it? She's like, you guys are just so loud.
Too loud.
It's like unbelievable. So it's true. It's who I am. But we love to start the show by knowing what has our guest talking too loud. What are they excited about? So what has you talking too loud today?
Well, Chris and Sylvia, maybe I'll look young, but I have 4 kids.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, indeed. And I want to bring this up because I'm a really digital person, and I think like the digital devices and everything make our kids more oriented.
Yeah.
But I found myself most of the time, me and my wife, thinking like, what about our kids' screen time?
Yeah.
Like, what we should do with it? It's like 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day. My older kids like playing Fortnite. The younger kids going to YouTube Kids. Eventually, you can see this YouTube Kids is not really for kids. It's like for everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's something that like bothered me a lot. And thinking like, what will be the ideal setup for our kids in terms of the screen? They're socialized like this, They're playing Fortnite with their friends is part of a social life.
Yeah. How old are your 4 kids?
So I have 11, 8, 6, and 4.
Okay. Yeah.
3 boys, 1 girl.
Okay. 3 boys. Wow. And it's hard, right? Because like my experience, I have 2 kids. They're 6 and 8. My 6-year-old just wants to do whatever the 8-year-old is doing. So if we allow the 8-year-old to watch something, whatever, my 6-year-old is like, well, I should be able to do that too, right? How do you feel having your kids growing up in this world and having to set these limits and thinking about them? Like, what advice would you give me?
Well, I think eventually, we usually on the weekends doesn't have that much of limitations, but during the day, like they need to come from school, doing their homework, doing like their stuff. They can have like around like a 30 minutes, 1 hour, like, after lunch, before like afternoon, they can go out to the garden or playing with their friends or going to, like basketball, soccer and that stuff. And then at night around like 7 p.m. till like 8:30 p.m. they have another time. But more or less this is it. And I think like everything you're doing, you don't have to be that strict. I think rules are like meant to be a bit bended in some cases, and there are some exceptions. And you need to be like flexible, and you need to be a bit more creative with this. And I think it really resonates also with how you work and how you manage people. You don't have to be like that strict and doing things that are so, like this is the line that we need to go through, and there are no exceptions.
Totally. I mean, by the way, great transition. I mean, you just did it for me there, so I wasn't expecting that.
I told you I'm going to surprise you.
Kobi, can you tell people, people who don't know, first of all, Wix, just tell us like really high level. I know you've been at Wix for 9 years. I think that's
almost
right.
10.
To almost 10 years. So just like tell us a little bit of like, what has the experience been like at Wix? What is Wix today? And then I want to get into specifically, Wix Studio and all the agency stuff.
Sure. So I guess, most of the people know Wix from like the YouTube ads. But I guess, especially in the States, we're getting big exposure because of some of the Super Bowl ads we did a few years back. But eventually, it's a web creation platform. Wix in the last 10 years, was one of the leading web creation platform for self-creators building their own business. And eventually, throughout the years, I think mainly in the past 5 years, we noticed that most of the people that create websites are professionals, and they create websites for other people, not for themselves.
Yeah.
Designers, marketers, developers. And what we understood throughout the years, speaking with all these professional people, that we need to create their own platform. So it has much more extensive web creation tools, and also some easier way to manage their agencies, their clients, how they're working with their clients' relationship. And that's why we built Wix Studio, and we launched it last October.
Got it. And for context, like how many employees were at Wix when you started, and how many are there now?
Yeah, so I joined 2014. I think it was around like 400.
Okay.
And today we have more than 5,000 employees, 12 offices. It's getting big. It's getting
That's
big.
Awesome.
And there are many, many things that are moving simultaneously. And I think our main challenge is to overseeing everything and making sure that everything is like set apart and working together.
I asked the question because one thing I find really interesting is in the early stages of a company, people are close to customers, usually, if it's working, right? Like they're like talking to customers, they're learning from them, they're figuring out what's going on. And then as companies get bigger, it's very easy to rely on the quantitative data to tell you what to do, like as for insights, but you inherently miss this connection to the story or the true understanding about why someone's behaving the way that they are. And what you just talked about was an example of like, it sounded to me like a lot of qualitative data, like a lot of talking to customers, understanding their pain. And it's actually kind of surprising because I think of Wix as a very easy website, creation platform. Like it's something that's so easy and anyone can do it. And then the insight that you highlighted is really interesting, which is like professionals choosing Wix because it's so easy, but then inherently they're professionals, they need more power. That's a really interesting insight to uncover. So how did the company figure that out?
So first of all, I think our CEO always say that he has more than like 200 million bosses, which are users. And we should continue speaking with them on a daily basis. I think our product people must speak with users every month. Like it's part of your role. If you're not doing this, you're not doing your job. So first of all, we're speaking with users all the time. When I joined Wix, as I said, almost 10 years ago, and I had my own digital marketing agency, and I joined Wix to build our entire marketing set of products. And I think in the first days, I realized that I always want to touch and meet users all the time. So either I'm going to have my own user that I'm going to do like marketing for him on the Wix platform and understand like the pain that he has as a user doing marketing activities and bringing traffic to his own website. Or from the other hand, build like an internal agency that will build websites and businesses for others and understand their own issues and their own problems to understand our own challenges as well. So I think by speaking with users, you understand exactly where the products are taking you. Like you should become and build some more complex solutions, and you need some more integration and make the platform much more open in APIs and everything to make sure that every professional which has its own, let's say, toolkit, like as a marketer, you have your own toolkit, and you want to make sure that it will be seamless for them to onboard these tools inside the platform and build this for their own clients.
Tell me about Wix Studio and the seeing this insight and what that means, and also what it means to kind of have the agency themselves as the ideal customer for you.
Yeah, so as I said, when we pave the way and start like understand that we have more professionals in our platform that building for others, and the world of like web creation or the freedom of creativity, you want to be much more complex and you want to do much more end design things, like animations and parallax and editing a video and a 3D and these type of stuff on the web. And of course, these browsers allow you to do it. You understood that you need to have a much more complex solution that will allow professionals like create their own vision into reality. And in addition to it, you understand that they're facing like their own challenges of managing their clients, their site. They want to make things much more efficient. So we built an end-to-end platform that's called Wix Studio, which is for agencies and enterprises. That the way we see it is helping these professionals build exceptional websites, and from the other end, help them manage them much more efficiently. So you can create in scale and also manage on scale, and making sure that you support your clients in a way that you will still going to be unique. You will be able to create like bespoke websites that are something with your own signature, but also manage this seamlessly as either freelancers or professionals, a designer, or as a big agency that need to have like many clients to manage.
You have such incredible scale at Wix. When you start a program like this, are you, from the day you launch it, do you expect to manage a huge amount of scale? Like, are you ready with Wix Studio when it launches that you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people coming in there? Can you start small? Like, how do you do that at scale? Like, how do you test things, or stand up something new alongside the scale? Because 200 million, is unbelievably huge.
Yeah. So first of all, everything is based on the Wix as a company infrastructure. Everything that we build makes sure that we're going to scale our platform in terms of security, reliability, SEO, infrastructure, everything we're doing, making sure that everything we're doing in terms of the technology behind it will support scale. So no matter what volume we're going to get in terms of traffic and in terms of the usage of our platform, we'll be able to support it. So I think like this is first, that you need to build like a good infrastructure that will support this. And usually we work on this product in like at least 1 year to make sure that we're going to be in a way where we'll be able to launch it. In some cases, eventually when you have users meeting your products, you don't have like too many shots. It's like a good first impression that you need to do. Their experience, their journey need to be so sharp to make sure that their experience inside the platform is something that they will, always say that you need to have these small Easter eggs inside your product journey, making sure that the users getting things that they didn't expect to, like a better, like amazing support, or they want to share what their experience is. They're getting things more seamless. So I think these type of things help us build the better product that we're doing.
Does that mean that you basically wouldn't be able to think of a startup might do a minimum viable product that is very minimal, right? And that's the idea. It's the most minimal viable thing. Does that mean that for you, that's not the approach here? Like when you launch something that's new to the scale, it needs to be so perfect and crisp and clean and clear. And to your point, like the first impression needs to hit that it is like very feature rich when it launches?
I don't think necessarily MVP must mean that you need like, minimum features, or means that we're waiting for too many features. I think, first of all, the infrastructure need to have a good, solid infrastructure, because you want like zero bugs, zero frustration. But then you can be able to do some small features that are really, you validate them and making sure that you have like these users consume them and then continue adding more features and more features. Actually, my own take on MVP is less about most valuable product, is must validate the product. So eventually I think there is processing the MVP that you can do many things even manually in a way that you validate your product. Like you must validate it before you even launch it. And there are many things in product lifecycle that you can do manually, making sure that even before you build it, you can do some things with your own hands as a product person, as a developer, even sending trigger emails manually, making sure that things are working.
And you would still do that even at your scale. You would still, validate something yourself and send the emails and do the,
Well, in some cases, it could be like really, really for small features at the moment, or really, really for small things. But yeah, for sure. Like if we want to do something that we want to see that this is something that is on spot. I know I can give an example of something. Let's say that we want to do something that do like client analytics. All right. So me as an agency, I want to make sure that I'm able to do like automatic clients analytics and reporting for my clients. So for some extent, I can take a group of 10 agencies, do the report for them, send them on their behalf, and see the reaction of the clients even before I'm just, building a tool that automate this.
Yeah, so you're still doing things that don't scale to prove and validate that you should do things that would scale.
Of course. I mean, even like this, in such a big company, when you have so many priorities, even you as a, a product team manager and looking over things, you want to make sure that you get a buy-in from the management to do stuff. In some cases, you need to come with some data, either qualitative or quantitative, to make sure that this will work and this is worth the investment as instead of investing resources on other things.
I love that. And the reason I'm asking so many questions about this is that this is a territory that I think can be a hard one for people to wrap their minds around. Like they join a company and it has momentum and they're like, oh, I should just do what the company is doing. And I've seen that happen at Wistia where people come in as like, the way that it works must be intentional. And a lot of it is, but some of it isn't. And so what we want is for people to experiment and find the right next thing forward, right? And like validate and figure it out. And I find that it's a hard thing to get working at scale where people think the way you're talking about. So I'm trying to get specific because if someone's listening and they're wondering, oh, this might be a great idea, but how do I actually get buy-in or how do I prove that it's going to work? Even the example of the emails, I think is such a great one of like, hey, let's just send an email to 10 customers and it'll look like what the email is going to code up that we're going to do, but we're not actually going to do it. We're not going to send it to 1,000. We're not going to send it to 1 million. We're not going to take that kind of risk. But if we have 10 customers and they love it and it drives action, then we're going to have way more confidence that we should move forward. And so that's why I'm asking about that. But I also want to just hear a little bit about when you're trying to get buy-in from management, you're trying to figure out like, someone has some big new thing. Like, how do you convince them to pay attention? How do you convince them that it's a good opportunity? How do you think about that?
So first of all, I think I'm a big believer in creating your own output of your work. Like, don't hide stuff, even if you think they are really, really small. The fact that you are like celebrating your output or your wins, making you're much more accomplished and fulfillment of what you're doing. And eventually, I think you need to come prepared. I mean, first of all, I think there are, especially in a big company and with so many users that we have, I mean, we have tons of data that you need to just go into the reports and explore and find something in the data that will let you know that you have what I call some oil finds as a start. And I think you need to find these oil finds. And then I would just go and see like if there are competitors that are doing this, if there are some products that are doing this. You can find great things or Product Hunt and some other places to understand if there is some seeds of something that is happening that maybe you can find a trend of something that you believe that it's going to work. And then since you have the liberty in a way of like trying to get your own initiatives, you can try something manually and get these oil signs backed up with the data to make sure that, all right, I have the intent of the users that I believe we can do something. And when I'm saying you come prepared, you need to make sure like what the resources that they need to make it happen, what the budget that they need to make it happen, how much time it will take me to do it. And eventually you need to get these people answers, making sure that this is the right decision that they're doing, as opposed to doing something else that could be more important.
Yes, very cool. So like really come in with the data, the plan, the proof points, like make the full case is what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I remember back like, 10 years ago, we have what usually called like, roadmap sessions, every once in a while. You're meeting the management about your roadmap and what we're looking after. And remember that I came from my first roadmap so prepared, with like product design and mock-ups, and I thought like, all right, this is the thing, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And this was the shortest roadmap I have. After 2 minutes, they said like, can you do it manually first? Can you try to do it manual and show that this is working and we need to build a product around it? And then I went back and did everything manual to prove that there is this oil science to create something.
That's such a good lesson. I feel like so many people get stuck with the first approach and they never adapt. It's hard out there. Okay, on your LinkedIn bio, I noticed you call yourself a digital sociologist, which I love that term. What does that mean to you, and how does that tie into your role as head of agency growth at Wix Studios?
Sure. So as I said, Wix Studio is a platform for agencies. And one of my role is managing a team that trying to look on a specific audience. So looking on the design audience, the marketer audience, like the agency owners. When I mean by digital sociologists is trying to understand like what's the digital spaces that these audiences are interact with. Like what are the publishers, the podcasts, the newsletters, the Twitter accounts, the influencers, trying to understand exactly where they are.
Yeah.
But eventually, like the old marketing tactics that you need to do eventually is make people move. You need to make people click. You need to make people share. You need to make people take an action. So you need to take this sociology into the digital sphere, and now everything has changed and evolved in a way that you need to use this in order to make people take an action. And these actions could be like, like, retweet, whatever the things that usually we're doing, and think how we can make these people move in this space and create these actions. So I guess this terminology is something that really resonates, at least for me, because I'm using the way that regardless of which marketing I will do, I'm using the same methodology in order to crack it and understand like how we're bringing growth and how we're making sure that we're going to bring the right audience to the whatever platform or product you're trying to promote.
Let's talk about the growth market in general. It's changed a lot in the last 10 years. Is there something that you think makes this moment today in the opportunities in growth marketing and engaging customers to better understand your product or to stand out? Is there something today that's making it particularly challenging or particularly exciting?
Well, I think looking about like me as an agency owner 10 years ago and today, and I'm not sure that we said AI once in the last 30 minutes probably.
Not yet.
So maybe we're going to say it for once. But eventually I think within our own agencies, we have like a new role, we have like maybe prompt people that these are their own expertise, creating like prompts and getting the like Mid Journey optimization or ChatGPT and this stuff, and help us do the work much more faster and seamless. And I think that this also changed the way that we're doing marketing. I think you want to find your own niche, you want to be unique, you want to make sure that you're getting exposure, and you can use these type of techniques to be much more relevant for what you're doing. And thinking about like, how everything grew up in the past 10 years, I think we have many platforms, many niche circles and communities. Like we have the user influencers much bigger. And I think eventually what you need to do is the same thing as what you've done probably like 50 years ago. You need to find the right people that create a difference. You need to have the right messaging. You need to understand the intent, and you want to make people take an action. But now we have like so many places that you can do it. This is what makes things much more complex. But the strategy and the methodology stay the same.
What is your advice for people who are trying to figure out, how much to invest in their website versus how much to invest on these channels? And, because it is overwhelming. There's so much, in a weird way, there's like never been more opportunity and people have never been more connected. But then I think it can feel paralyzing. So how do you think about tackling the overall space of, you're trying to market a new product, you're trying to get people's attention today?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, I think eventually a business need to have his own assets. You need to own your own like digital real estate, I would say. Your own website, your own subscribe list, like these are the things that no matter if you're going to do like your own TikTok channel, YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram, whatever, eventually, who knows what's going to happen to these platforms. but your own stuff is one of the things that really hold, and you own it. And I think this foremost, you need to understand what you want to be within your website to make sure that eventually will make your own customer journey in a way that will be something that makes sense for your business. And I think most of the people like going in through like, let's do the design, let's do the mock-up really, really fast, and let's understand their own audience, like what they need, what you want them to do, what you expect them to happen after they're like having their lead or doing a purchase. And I think most of the time we're like lack of the planning before like building a website. And I think this is what we should invest the most. And no one knows your own clients and audience beside you as a business owner eventually.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it's like, you know, we talk about video all the time, obviously, here at Wistia. It's like we do a state of video report, which is basically like, you know, surveying our customers, looking at usage trends, like, you know, all this different stuff. And the interesting thing in the last few years has been like a very high percentage of customers are making video, but a pretty low percentage of people have a strategy.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, it ends up really working when you have a strategy. When you do the work up front, that's like, hey, I'm only going to put videos on one channel. I'm going to make the channel, I'm going to make it better and better and better on this channel. Or I'm going to have a specific one singular goal for a video versus have 30 goals. How do we get people to do the hard stuff? You know, you're talking like do the planning and figure out who your customer is. And I'm talking about the same thing, basically. It's like, how are you going to tell the right story? You know, how do you have to set the right goals? Like, how do you have a strategy that you come up with? I don't have the answer. I'm just wondering how you think about that.
I think first and foremost, like, I really believe in like, do what you do best, outsource the rest. If you need someone to help you do it, it will be great to have you like a good partner to collaborate with, or you need like a business advisor to help you with the strategy. And even if you're doing something ad hoc just for like 3 months, you need to understand like your weaknesses. And I think it's something that we're really afraid of, you know, taking someone to help us. Like who likes to ask for help, right? And eventually, if we do take these like smart people around us to help us and find the right person with the right niche, so he can help us with a strategy. And if he's good, and it'll be easier for me. I mean, eventually, I want to create jewelries, or I want to build my own fashion brand. Like I want to need, this is what I want to do eventually. I don't want to do marketing. I don't want to do like back office stuff and pack boxes to send them to different people. Eventually, I want to do my own thing. This is what I came from. And we're lacking of thinking that way. And I think this is something that we need to change.
Yeah, I mean, that is the other side of living in a very interconnected world where there's a lot of experts, right? Is like really honing in on the thing that you have the unique ability to do. And saying, like, to your point, what was the exact line you said?
Do what you do best.
Do what you do best and outsource the rest. I love that way of thinking, and I think it's, I mean, that's also how you scale a team, right? Is like, you're not going to be able to do everything better than everybody else. You need to find the thing that you do really well that's uniquely valuable and get other people who can do the other stuff better than you, be it like inside your company or outside. Okay, I'm gonna shift the conversation back to talking about our kids. I think it's interesting because like we're talking about the future and how to prepare. We're talking about scaling and ownership and getting really good at things. And it's funny, like when I was growing up, I played video games, and there's some things I look back on where like there were certain games that I got really good at, and I remember it taught me how to get good at something. That's what it felt like to me. It was like, you know, I could see my progress in such a way that I built up a lot of confidence, like, oh, I can be the best at this thing. It's interesting because like I have the same struggle I think that you do, which is just like, I want my kids to be able to have those opportunities too, but the games feel more addicting and they feel like more pervasive. And so it's like, is it possible to give your kids the opportunity to get really good at these things and also keep it balanced? And then I just feel old because I feel like, am I just my own parents telling me not to do something? And I don't know. How do you think about that? Do you see your kids like trying to like really excel in some direction and in the good side of screen time, like, you know, getting really good at Fortnite, for example?
The word now is like with huge opportunities. I mean, you should exercise in many, many things. And it's really hard eventually to find the thing that you love and you want to expertise it. I mean, you know, we have so many YouTubers tell our kids, yeah, like they can be the next YouTuber, they can be the next influencer, they're going in that direction, but not necessarily it's something that they love. I mean, they love like this star quality around them. So I think the best advice is to exercise in many, many things. Try to do different type of things. Try to find a thing that you feel that makes you feel either calm or excited. And eventually, when you're going to find that thing, you're going to excel in this one. I'll tell them, like, try out. There is a new game. Try this new game as well. Like, don't stuck on this Fortnite. And if it is, try to find your own strategy into the game. Try to find your thing that make you more special, even with something that usually all the people are doing. But try and exercise as much as you can.
It's funny because it's like, I think that what you just said, we could just replace game with work, and like it would be the best advice. It's just, it's like experimenting.
A little trick there you did.
A little tricky, a little trick. No, but it's true. I think it's hard for people sometimes to like, there's a limited number of stories about startups and growth and what it looks like. And usually, we just see the outside of like, 400 employees to 5,000, like, wow, that just must look like this. Like, it's just like really consistent growth. My experience talking to lots of other entrepreneurs is just like, you take a few steps forward and then there's stuff that breaks and it goes backwards. And it's like, you have to build up resilience and you have to build up like a flexible approach to things. And you have to experiment. You have to figure out what you're actually good at and jettison the other stuff. And so it's just interesting because like so much of our conversation has been about work, but also at the same time, it's like the same thing that our kids are trying to do. It's like, how do you interact with the world and how do you play? And I think it's just a really interesting question that you kind of started with about screen time is like, how do we make sure that like we're working on things that are actually compelling and interesting and don't just like distract us or like suck up time without getting the right like response back? Because I think that's true with like bad screen time, but that's also true with like bad work and bad projects.
I think one of the most hardest things is what you're not doing, not what you're doing. Like
what you're
how
not
to
doing.
reach to a point that I'm going to tell myself, you know what, this I'm not going to do anymore, or this I'm not planning to do because I don't think this is the right way or the right resources, whatever. And I think we need to work on this muscle of telling ourselves, how would I make this decision of the thing that I'm not doing as opposed to the thing that I am doing?
How do you make that decision? How do you know when you should stop doing something?
Well, first of all, I think I'm really a big believer in energy. Eventually, I think energy is something that really like motivates you and you make the right decisions for energy. And before I'm going into like data, before I'm doing into the decision making and everything, eventually if I feel that their energy is stuck or there is something that is not working the way that it should work, even if I believe that this is like the best path that we need to take, maybe this is not the right one. And it will be like a bigger manager decision to say, all right, let's not do this and maybe come back in few months, few years, but it will make the energy of other project much more fulfillment and compelling to what we're doing.
And you're talking about the connection between the work itself and the people doing the work, like the vibe, the feeling, the energy. And
it's everything.
Like,
it's your partners, other colleagues, other teams, everything around it, Even if you're doing like a small test to try to increase the funnel in something, but you see that it's not working that good as you expected, or you feel that you're getting some feedback from other like colleagues that saying, this is maybe not the right direction. And in big companies, you want to make sure that you are doing the right decisions and, in some places means that maybe this is not the right task that you should do, or this is not the right project that you need to take. And let's either continue what we're doing or think about something else.
Yeah, it's funny because that seems like soft stuff, but it's so true. Like it happens all the time. It's like, I can tell when it feels good. When it feels good, when the energy's right, in the room. And it's like, you could tell someone asks a question that if the energy wasn't right, they wouldn't be able to ask. Like they wouldn't feel the trust of the space. And, we've done, Wistia was in person before COVID and now we're remote, but we still bring folks together in person for big planning meetings and stuff. And one of the things that was really interesting at the last planning meeting, which was in January, was everyone just kept talking to me about the vibe. Like, man, the vibe, it just feels really good. Yeah, we just want to get to the truth of what's working. Like no one's holding back in the best way possible, where it's just like, you feel like you can question each other, you can disagree openly in front of a big room, and that's because we're all trying to get to the right place. And I've been there when it's not working. It sucks. And it's
Of course.
and it's often it's the feeling first. And so it's just really interesting because it's like, I don't know, I use so much data all the time to make decisions. And yet like there's a certain type of data that sometimes we just don't listen to enough, which is how it feels. And it's like people try to convince themselves like to not be emotional at work, right? If you're shutting down your emotions and you're not in tune with how other people are reacting and feeling, and like if they believe they can accomplish the problem that they're working on, for example, then you're actually shutting down one of the most powerful things you can use to grow.
And I think throughout the years, I mean, you're gonna feel, based on your experience, you're gonna have this hunch that tells you just from the first day that this is the right path, this is the right thing that we need to do. You know, I think this hunch is something that it's a way of thinking to help you understand that you make the right decisions.
Yeah.
Or there isn't a hunch in your stomach tell you that, you know what, it's not going the way I want it to be. It's too hard. It's struggle. Let's take and stop it now. And in a moment you feel like the relief that you said, why do I continue doing this till now? What was the reason that I continue tackling this task or this effort? And the moment it's done, you just like feel that the energy is back.
Yeah. What's the energy like at Wix Studio these days?
Wow. I mean, first of all, launching a new product is always, fascinating. And I think the fact that you are, as I said, one of the things that I really love is actually meeting like, the clients, the users, and meeting like agency owners and trying to understand their own pain, their own needs, even if it's, it's something that is happening so many years, but still like with all the like digital space and everything that is happening, like meeting and understanding that you solve pains for specific type of audience, I think it really pump up the energy. And the fact that that you're working on products that are really, really innovative, that you have like the freedom to create and do stuff that are unique. Although, you could say like this space is really cluttered with, many competitors and many stuff, but you are trying to find your own angle, trying to find your own niche and doing things that you believe that there is a team that is ready for success and making things happen. And this is really, really interesting. While you know that the company is continue doing other stuff in other places.
That's awesome. I mean, it's exciting to be creating something new and be doing it with people who will like want to do it and like are excited about the challenge. And a lot of these spaces we're in, they're big. I mean, that's the thing that's so crazy, right? Like, I think about that all the time. Like, we started Wistia in 2006, but the market doesn't care if we started in 2006. Like, I've been at this a long time, but if the market's early stage today, it's early stage today. You can't control it. And I feel like that's like the interesting thing about the internet is like, it's still growing so much. There's so many people I talk to all the time who are like, yeah, I really should make that video. I still haven't. Or I really should update my website. It's like, to me, it just feels like it can feel late stage. And I think it's actually a lot of this stuff is very early stage, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities and things change so fast. Like who knows, like when was the time that they invented the iPhone? When was like Meta, X, TikTok? There are so many things that just happen so rapidly, and you're just saying, really? It was like that?
Totally.
Few years ago, that's it?
So fast. I mean, TikTok is like, what, 4 years or something since like it really started to get big in the US?
Yeah.
And it's like you can't really have a conversation about social media without it.
It's crazy.
It's
No,
very remarkable.
let's do like this. How many people spoke about AI 10 years ago? And in just like 1 month, like everything just pop up and everything is around AI.
Everything is completely changed. And customer expectations are changing really fast.
Yeah, it's fascinating time to be in. I think I think eventually, all of us were really lucky to have like these two phases. I mean, our kids grow into something that it was different. I mean, 40 years ago. Eventually today they're growing into different stuff. And I do feel that we still need to give like the kids, the marketers, the developers still also the basic to make sure that the basics keep the basics. No matter which platform you're using, no matter which room you are, which computer you'll have, which magic headsets you have of your eyes, the basics should be still the basics. And when we crack the basics for our own niche, I think we could do it anywhere in different platform, every channel, whatever we're going to take.
Yeah, I love that. Kobi, thank you so much for joining us here today. Really great having you on the show. Where can people best connect with you?
Probably everywhere, like, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. I'll be happy.
All right, Kobi, thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you.
And we're back. Here we are.
And we're back.
And we're back. It's always interesting. I find it interesting to talk to folks who have been at a company for a long time, through a lot of growth, seen a lot of change, still really excited about it. And I think that's why, with an interview like this with Kobi, my instinct is to get a little bit heady into the why. Why do you work in this way? What does success look like? What does change look like? Because a lot of that stuff is what trips folks up, right? Is you're in a company, it's growing, and then it has to change, or you see an opportunity. How do you actually get them to change? How do you get them to see the opportunity? How do you take a risk? How do you try something new? It's so hard to do that when you have momentum in one direction and you want to add another one on. So I think for me, that's where I love this interview, getting into that and hearing inside another business, because that's the challenge I often see people facing and want to help them through. And I'm just always looking for more stories about that, which I think is why I was drawn to this one.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I feel like some of the advice was tactical, but some of it was so much more intuitive and kind of knowing, having a hunch, or reading a room, feeling energy, and how much we kind of take that stuff for granted in work. We definitely don't in life, right? That's how we make decisions in life. But we sort of compartmentalize that part at work.
I think it seems like you're supposed to compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
Don't you think? It's that's the expectation. And then therefore people compartmentalize it, and then they turn off, and not everyone can just leave their job or do something different if they're not feeling it, right?
Right.
And so I want to recognize that,
Yes.
Not everyone, it's a flexibility. But I think trying to search for that and trying to understand it, trying to build a team that has that, the right energy, the right vibe, it does add up. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's of course it does. And obviously, kudos to Wix that's a default that he sees exists there, right? Not every place is going to have the positive energy. And I think it's that's another lesson in and of itself, right? How do you have sustained growth for a long time? If you can actually have the culture right, you can have the energy right, you can.
It was refreshing, and I kept thinking about the size of Wix, and I was it feels even more surprising given how big the company is, that Kobi can be just as, I don't know, thoughtful as maybe he was a decade ago, that doesn't get eclipsed in the wake of growth.
Yeah.
In the wake of growth.
In the wake of growth. There you go. Getting heady again. Well, thank you for watching the show. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to rate and review the show wherever you listen to it. Helps get the word out, helps us get better guests. Speaking of guests, if you have somebody who you think should be on the show, reach out, let us know. Email us at ttlpod@wix.com, or hit us up on LinkedIn, or Twitter/X, or Facebook, I guess. Why do I'm telling Instagram?
All the channels.
Snapchat, and
not that one.
iMessage, and Slack Connect, and
we're really going there.
I can't think of any more. SMS? No?
No.
Okay. Say hi.
Rate and review us.
Rate and review.
I think you got it.
Okay, great. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.